All right, welcome back. You're watching Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Some looks of what CENTCOM has been posting. Over the past 24 hours, they have been keeping their social feeds active as they give us images of what their military actions have been looking like in recent days. As the U.S. and Israel press their campaign against Iran, artificial intelligence is quietly becoming a central player on the battlefield, speeding up targeting, analyzing intelligence, and raising new questions about human oversight in war. Standing by is Paul Powers. He's a cybersecurity expert and the CEO of Physna. You know, Paul, the big question for me is, how is AI being used by the U.S. and Israel in the current military operations, from targeting to real-time decision-making? How is it giving their capabilities a boost?
Well, luckily, we've had with this administration quite a lot of investment into AI, and what AI is really being used for right now is tactical advantage, right? So it's compressing decision-making timelines, allowing warfighters to make better decisions a lot faster than they could in the past. It's allowing automated targeting. I think it's just essentially giving us even more dominance than what we would otherwise have in the past, which is fantastic. It's ultimately going to cost less lives. I think that there's this old adage in the military, though, that amateurs talk about tactics and professionals talk about logistics. And I think that what we're going to see come out of this is, and this aligns very neatly with the 2026 defense policy, is that we're going to realize that, especially for a war of this kind, where we're sending large amounts of our Navy and our Air Force overseas across the world to go fight for extended combat operations, what becomes just as critical as our ability to win when we reach the front line is our ability to be on the front line first and foremost. And that's an area of AI that hasn't received as much attention. There are some leaders in the Air Force and the Navy that, have actually stepped up and said, this is something that we need to focus on. And I expect that, this administration is actually going to be rewarding those who are leading that charge, because it's an area where I think AI can actually have the biggest impact. It's not the flashy things like automated targeting drones. It's actually the things that might sound more boring, like making sure that your fleet is operationally ready, that you're getting parts in fast enough, that you're able to maintain your fleet in a faster cadence than you were able to before. Ultimately, war is a battle of endurance, and I think that's actually where AI is going to play the bigger role.
Yeah, reports are indicating that the U.S. military is using AI tools to shorten the quote-unquote kill chain, which is allowing targets to be identified and struck faster than ever before. Does this kind of stuff risk sidelining human oversight in life and death decisions?
Eventually, it will. It's an inevitability. Right now, we're not quite there yet. For the most part, there is a human in the loop when you're making these types of decisions. But eventually, to be totally transparent, it will eventually become that humans are not only not needed in the loop, but they're not actually wanted. And that's scary when you first think about it. But the counterpoint would be, we just had the Kuwaitis accidentally shoot down 2 American F-15s. That was a human error, not an AI error. Humans make mistakes. AI can make mistakes, but the number of mistakes AI will make is going to decrease exponentially over time, whereas humans are going to be pretty much linear. For the time being, though, that's not happening. It was not like we have that all these strikes are happening autonomously yet. Right now, there's still a human in the loop.
Some AI firms like Anthropic, they are refusing military contracts over ethical concerns. Does this divide between AI companies over defense partnerships, is it to use signaling deeper issues in the industry?
Well, in the tech industry, it's kind of like any other industry, right? You have people who follow different philosophies, and I think that actually kind of highlights why it's important that we don't put all of our AI investment into just a couple of firms, because you can have these political shifts, you can have these events take place, and then you become beholden to these companies. We have an amazing startup industry in the United States. By far more advanced and more impressive a startup industry than we have anywhere else in the world. And I think it'd be a shame for us not to invest in a larger range of companies, so that if you do have moments like this where Anthropic says, hey, I don't want to be involved with XYZ, you might have another company that's just as good, maybe even better, that steps in and says, hey, I actually would love to take part in that. I think that it's up to every company to decide what role they want to play in national defense. But by diversifying and giving lots of companies an opportunity, we don't have to worry about that.
A live look at the White House, the time in the nation's capital, 8:15. Looking beyond this conflict, Paul, is the use of advanced AI in war changing global power dynamics? And if it is, what could that mean for U.S. policy regarding AI in military operations?
It absolutely will. So in some ways, AI is it can give you more of an advantage than you had before. In the case of some advanced weaponry, but it can also level the playing field in some ways. If you have a large fleet of drones that can fly autonomously, that can matter a lot. If you have a smaller military, but they have more operational readiness, they have better sustainment. It doesn't matter if you have the world's largest air force. If only half of that air force is able to fly, someone who has half your air force, but the majority of it can fly, can actually keep up with you. There are things like that that are going to start to shift the balance of power. And then there's also cyber attack capabilities where people typically think of cybersecurity and AI as two different things, but they're really not. When it comes to AI, which is mainly my focal area, it's shocking actually how many attacks are possible. The breadth of attacks and the depth of attacks that are much more feasible now than they were in the past. And these cyber attacks are actually much easier to conduct with their use of AI than they were in the past, where you'd have to have a lot more people on your side. You'd have to have a lot more money to spend, for instance, or a lot more hours in the day. You don't need that as much with AI agents. And I think that there's also different types of attacks than we've seen in the past. The ability to influence things like designs and manufacturing, processes that we've long considered to be fully automated, that would be too complicated for a human to get involved in. Turns out that's not the case anymore, and AI is potentially going to exploit that. But at the same time, AI can also be the solution to fix that. So the important thing for America is stay up to date with AI. I'm glad this administration's investing in it, and I hope that they continue that and actually expand that investment to cover the less obvious areas of AI investment that will ultimately keep us in the position that we're in moving into the 21st century.
I understand that what I'm about to ask sounds a bit ironic, but how much don't we know about how the military is using artificial intelligence?
Without saying anything that I'm not able to share publicly, my hunch would be that we probably overestimate the amount that the military is using artificial intelligence. I think that what we say on a daily basis is that there are companies who make toys, who make bicycles, who make foreign cars that adopt AI faster than I believe a lot of our government does. And so I would actually hope that our government would catch up. I think there are some exceptional cases where our government actually leads the charge in technology, but for every one of those, there are countless more examples where the government is catching up to industry. So I don't really fall for that, to believe there's a massive conspiracy that the government has AI that is light years ahead of what industry has. I think that there might be one or two cases like that, but for the most part, it's the other way around.
Paul, appreciate the insight here. Paul Powers is with Physna. He's the founder and CEO of the company. He's also a cybersecurity expert. Appreciate you.
Thank you.